Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. Right. So I think this morning we've spent a lot of time talking and hearing and learning about laying foundations for talent, the strategy behind freelance, and looking around the room. I work for Worksome. There's a lot of clients here who've gone in and put in a platform and understood the technology and have a strategy. We then spoke about compliance, the do's and the don'ts. So do we lock the freelancers in another room, or do we let them kind of play with everybody else? And I think often companies do go through that flow of I need to understand what this area of the workforce is, what skills do they have, why do I need them? In order to do that, you need to understand the compliance aspects of engaging those people. How do we engage them? How do we work with them? How do we pay them? Sophie's here to talk about the next phase of that journey for me. It's how do I source these people? Why would they want to come and work for me? And I couldn't think of a better person to come and talk through how to do that and what that looks like than Sophie and also Oatly, right? Oatly, quick show of hands, who's heard of Oatly? Who's drunk Oatly? That's pretty good, isn't it?
It's very good, considering most of the time people are like, Oatly, like the glasses?
Oh, no,
like,
yeah.
No, the oat milk.
It depends on how you pronounce your T's, I guess, isn't it, really? Anyway, so Oatly, at the heart of everything that you guys do from a recruitment perspective, but actually more as a business, is all about brand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We like to think that we're a voice before we're a brand, first of all. And the voice is such a pillar of what Oatly is, and the voice that you hear, that you see on our pack of Oatlys and everything that we put out into the world is absolutely in sync with what we say on the inside. So there's a consistency there, and I think the reason why people are attracted to Oatly, beyond the fact that the product is delicious, but also because we are human and we show up in the world in a way that is human, but also cares about the human. If you think about our North Star is to really help people live a better life and a healthier life without recklessly taxing the planet's resourcing while they're doing that. So it is an amazing brand, I have to say. I feel very privileged to work there. Having grown up agency side, I worked at Wieden Kennedy for many, many years. First as an account manager there, then as a producer, and then I came back as the recruiter for their Amsterdam office that I helped build for close to 9 years. Oatly was always a brand that I was thinking, how they put this work out there? Who are their copywriters? I need to poach them. So it's been a real privilege to come behind the curtains and be doing what I'm doing for them for almost 5 years now.
And we called this panel "Humans Hiring Humans" because I think when you boil it all down, that's what it is. We were talking when we briefed for this about when you're selling a product, you're ultimately trying to make somebody buy something, and it's very much the same in recruitment, right? With what you do and your brand, you very much push that into your employer brand, don't you? So you
absolutely
tell the room here about how you do that.
Think about fishing. I don't know if any of you fish, but you use a different lure to catch a different fish. And I think I like to think about recruiting a little bit the same way. If what you put out there is very appropriate and very corporate and very boring, what are you going to catch? You're going to catch boringly appropriate talent. So I've always approached it about what do we need, who's the kind of talent we want to attract, and then they're going to be actually excited about what you're saying and how you're showing up in the world, or they're not. So everything we do at Oatly is in terms of employer branding is geared toward that. It starts with the copywriting that you see on our cartons. Like, have a look at what's in your fridge. If you have a pack of Oatly, that's our voice. Our career site, that's our voice. Our website, our social media. Everything is consistently Oatly, and we just are on the inside the same way we show up on the outside. And that, to me, is the strength. And it will attract the people who think that that's great. We even go so far as we have a website called fuckoatly.com. It's true. Look it up. It's a website where we talk about the things where we fail. There's a lot of people who are angry at us for things, various things. And we collected all those reasons that make us not perfect and flawed, but also brave and different. And even so, at the end, if we have something that says, if you still hate us, after you've read this, there's another website you can click through, this fuckoatly.com, and you can go 5 deep until you get to a voice message. So it's hilarious, but it's out there. And maybe somebody out there is offended by that. And then maybe they go, well, I don't want to work at Oatly. And we're like, that's fine. This is who we are. But it's not being afraid to not do things like everyone, and just be genuine and be consistent with who you are as a company.
Yeah, it's quite a sad state of affairs, isn't it, when people hate oat milk to that extent. But I guess, again,
you'd be amazed.
The world we live in, isn't it?
You'd be amazed.
So for some of the people in this, a lot of people in this room will be from TA, HR, I think there's a handful of procurement, but kind of practical ways that you've implemented that would be quite interesting to understand. You know, how, you talk about the carton and how the brand puts itself out to customers. What about, when you boil it down, that getting that employer brand to candidates who might want to work for you? What are the day-to-day?
Well, the job description, it starts with the job description. Again, if you have a very corporate job description, you'll attract a particular kind of people. If you have a job description that has a much more human tone and is more in line with who you are as a brand, you'll attract different kinds of people, or people that may be better suited to your culture. It's even when you communicate with candidates during the candidate journey, any email acknowledging that you've received their applications, you can craft that in a very human, genuine voice. Of course, we have tools, we automate certain things. I don't write to 1,300 candidates. I write one email myself, and I inject as much humanity and care and Oatly tone of voice into it, then the tools will send that 1,300 times. But it's paying attention to every single touch point, because everything says something about who you are as a company, and people will decide whether that's a company they're interested in applying for or not.
Yeah. I challenge anyone to actually go to the website, go to their careers page and look at, I think the example you gave me was a manufacturing job in a factory for quite literally crushing up oats and things like that.
Yeah, so I'll just read it because it's just a great example. So you can apply, like you can just connect to our career site. So there might not be an open position, but you can say, hey, I'm interested in these, and then you come into our ATS, our applicant tracking system, and I can find you like that. But just to give you an idea, so when you say you want to work in an Oatly factory, you go, I want them to know about me. And this is how we write it. If you like big machines with big names that turn oats into planet-friendly foods, you'll probably find working at one of our production sites pretty interesting. It's not exactly as easy as feeding oats into one end and taking a carton of creamy oat drink out the other. But the machines with the big names do most of the work, so this department's job is to make sure that it all runs smoothly, and then, as the grand finale, send it all off on electric trucks into the sunset. So you can see we've said so many things about us in that paragraph, and that's easy. That's a low-hanging fruit. So think about every single touch point that you have, that you put out there, and you go, could we make it more like us? Could we make it more human? I think we live in a world, and we've touched on it. It's scary for us human, this AI thing, this like, are we going to be replaced? And it's, in 6 weeks, it's going to be yet again different. So let's just tap into our humanity as much as we can. And I think people react really well to that. And they feel like, great, this is where I'm going to be considered as a human. And it's with things like that you create that connection.
I went onto a UK job board and typed in site manufacturing. And there were 44,000 jobs in the UK on the job board. And I clicked on like 3 or 4. They were all the same ad, but for different companies. It was carbon copied exactly the same job. Yep. And none of the words were particularly human or exciting. It was quite boring, really.
I'd venture that maybe because they all go into the AI and they say, how should I write this? And the AI will spit out exactly the same thing.
Yeah. To change tack slightly, I think another interesting thing about what Sophie and her team do at Oatly is how you work quite so closely with the business.
Yes. So I mean, this is my personal opinion. I've always tried to make that happen in my career. I've never wanted to be part of HR per se, and I've nothing against HR. I work with them beautifully, and it's a beautiful synergy, because I felt that if I reported into the HR function, I wasn't as effective for the business as when I reported into the leadership team. So at Oatly, I hire for what we call the Oatly Department of Mind Control, which is our in-house agency. And when I came in, they were like, well, you're going to be part of HR. And I said, well, actually, that doesn't really work for me. I can really add value if I report into the leadership of the Oatly, of my function. And that creates a big, big difference, because I have a seat at the table. And then, we don't just call when we need to find somebody, so just to put bums in seats. We are talent partner. I know what's going on. I know what we're trying to do. And I can actually add value by going, well, do you know what's happening out there? And these are the kinds of talents and this and that. And how does that fit with how we're going to evolve and grow the Oatly Department of Mind Control as there's more a shift towards social first and things like that. I'm lucky that I've been twice able to engineer it to be reporting into that function, to that leadership. If you can't, it's not about the org chart. It's not about the reporting line. It's about adding value by embedding yourself in the business and getting to know the function that you support. And you don't need to have a reporting line to do that. You can, if you oversee a team of talent acquisition specialists, tell them, go out into the business, go ask questions, go ask to sit in meetings, understand deeply the function that you support, and then you'll be able to do what Joe Libby was saying, which was casting, which I think is so important. You're bringing in a human who's going to work with other humans. Casting is important. It's not, I always say, I don't hire a CV and I don't hire a portfolio. I hire a human. Plus, what's on the CV and the portfolio is done. It's in the past, and I'm not hiring you to do these things again. So just connecting with the business to understand the kinds of humans you need to bring into the business is, to me, is a huge value add. So
a kind of dumb question. What's the difference between casting and interviewing then? Casting's upstream further.
So casting is like, what team am I bringing these people into? There's personalities there. There's we try to strike a balance and of sort of having not all of the same in one team. Some leaders, some managers have a certain personality. Am I going to bring somebody who I know are going to drive them up a wall? No. That doesn't make sense. So if I know who I'm recruiting for, what the team is, what the team dynamic is, are they more process-driven? Are they more sort of creative thinkers? I can cast to that effect. It's a huge luxury, and that means that you're also not hiring thousands and thousands of people, because then that's much more difficult to do. But I've been lucky that I've been able to do this sort of bespoke recruiting, where I really considered the humans on the team, and then the human that was going to complement that team and add something interesting to it.
Mm. And Oatly still has an HR department with business partners that support the...
Yeah, and I work very closely. We have HR ops, so those are all like the people that, thank goodness, they're there and they know about contracts and visas and compliance and all of these things. And I have people business partners that are just supporting the function, and I work very closely with that person. We talk about every day because there's, I end where they begin and vice versa, and there's wonderful synergies. So it's a very close teamwork with HR, but I am not part of HR.
Mm. When does talent acquisition end then for the candidates with you?
It's the whole. So it ends. I mean, I will do everything from sitting down with the hiring manager to really understand what they're looking for, crafting the job description, posting it out there, managing the whole recruitment process, putting out an offer, negotiating the offer, signing the offer, and typically that's when I would hand over to HR ops, because they will be doing the contract, they will be with the people business partner crafting and onboarding for this person, and that I've seen work beautifully.
And I'd imagine again when you're receiving, I think you anecdotally said that you sometimes get thousands of applications for jobs. I think that's not uncommon though, right? To have maybe hundreds and thousands of applications on a job. how do you even sieve through the amount of applications? Like, what's your, given how big the brand is and how so many people want to work for the business?
Well, we work with an applicant tracker system where I can actually have prompts. I mean, I will see every single one of the applicants, but I have the system sort them in buckets. So, for example, to give you an example, I was looking for an art director in the US. The US is big. We try to, like, people on the West Coast, the time difference doesn't work because they have to work with Sweden. And in Sweden, they stop at 5 on the dot. So that doesn't leave a lot of runway. So I just had the ATS just click through into a bucket people who were further than mountain time, so mountain time and PST time, so that I would still, they weren't rejected, I would still see them, but I knew that was the last bucket where I was going to look. And so I asked, and I had crafted my application so that I have a question that people can take on their time zone, and the system will sort them. So I use automation, but I will look at everyone. Apart from sometimes, we were not able to sponsor for that position, for example. So immediately I put the system put the people who required a visa into that bucket. But I could have then, when I had time, when it was done, I could go in there and go, well, hang on, this person's in the Netherlands. We also hire in the Netherlands, but I would get to that later. So the tool is this applicant tracker system is very helpful in that sense.
Again, it's a blend between
human and technology. Yeah. I just think we can't just rely on the technology. I mean, another anecdote, and it broke my heart, in that 1,300 applicants for an art director role, I had crafted the rejection email, but of course, I click and the system sends it out. And this person replied with a lot of expletives and insults, really insulting, and saying, but it doesn't matter in the end because I know you're just a robot. And it kind of broke my heart. This is the level of fear that applicants feel, and they felt that it was totally safe to insult me really badly. And I just felt so sad because there's humans on the receiving end. So I then wrote back going, hey, just to let you know, there's a human on the other side, and I understand it's hard, it's rough, but so I just think we need to never forget that we are humans hiring humans and inject that and tell people. I'm actually now debating telling somewhere in my process, telling candidates that there is a human and a human will look at every single applicant. In my job post now, I've started putting a note on AI at the bottom that says, we absolutely fine if you want to prepare for the interview with AI, if you want to check the spelling with AI, that's fine. But we want to get to know you as a person, so don't cut and paste the AI answers. And I am seeing eerily similar answers more and more and more because people take the job post, they take the applicant question, send it through the AI, and you sometimes have the exact same answer. So I think it's a two-way street of talking about it. It's the monster under the bed, so let's talk about it so it's not so scary.
How, as well, we saw some scary numbers earlier around, from Christine, the keynote, on how engaged, or maybe not so engaged, just employees are. How does the hiring experience, how have you experienced the hiring experience at Oatly positively impact people's, retention and people's happiness at work and engagement surveys and things like that?
Yeah.
You work with HR on.
Yeah, I think what people have enjoyed. We ask after the recruitment process over. We send a survey to candidates, and usually they're pretty happy because they were like, it was really great because we felt we were talking to Oatly. And that's great. And people who work at Oatly are also very engaged, but I think it's because we attract people who feel very connected to our purpose and our mission. And we care about the planet, we care about people, we care about health and nutrition. And it really is what we get out of bed for in the morning. It is really, we don't just say it, we really walk the walk, talk the walk. You know what I mean? And so people feel connected through this North Star, this mission-led company. And I have to say, coming from the world of advertising where you don't always choose who your clients are, it really feels amazing to work for a company that does no harm in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Just changing tack slightly as well. There's some reports going around that similar to the Gallup report on the role of HR, the role of people teams within organisations, and quite scarily, that not many HR and people and talent leaders really have a seat at the table. The percentages range between kind of 3 and 5% of boardrooms will regularly have a people or TA lead at a decision-making table to talk about the next year's budget and strategy and things like that. But fundamentally at Oatly, you're having TA and people report into the hiring managers, right? Into the end hiring managers.
I do. So I do for the Oatly Department of Mind Control. It's not the same throughout the same company. I mean, I wasn't going to come in and change the whole company, but for me it was important, and they saw that there was a value. So it's structured like that for the in-house agency, if you want. Other talent acquisition people within Oatly are either HR TA hybrids, which we wish we could have specialized recruiters for every function. I think there's something really, really powerful in that, because when you're specialized, you have a network. You have networked for 20 years. I could give you an example. I had to find a freelance Korean copywriter in Seoul yesterday. And the next day I had a name, and the reason I had a name is not that it took me a day. It took me a day and 20 years of networking in the creative industry. And that's the power of having specialized talent acquisition. It is a complete luxury. We're aiming one day at Oatly to have a specialized talent acquisition person for science, for innovation, for logistics, for sales. I couldn't begin, I mean, we hire oat geneticists. I couldn't begin to recruit a geneticist. I would have no idea where to begin, and I would interview one and go like, that's amazing, and have no idea if they're good or if they're terrible oat geneticists. So that's the power of having specialized talent acquisition. So it's not everywhere in the company, but it's the hope that one day we will be able to do that.
But fundamentally, everybody's driving in the same direction.
Yes, absolutely.
Mission led to all go to the same, all go to the same place. So I think, we wanted very purposefully out of this session to give anybody working in people functions and TA functions to be able to take away lessons so that you could go back to your organisation and say, well, I heard from this crazy lady called Sophie at Oatly. What can we take back? And I think, fundamentally, like you said, challenging the corporate structure might not be an option. Right, I think you said you spoke to the CEO and said this isn't working.
Yeah. No, I mean, I challenged. I said, no, I can't be here. This is not how I'm going to add the most value. And they were wonderful. They were like, all right, well, where do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be there. And they were like, okay, be there. But not everybody can do that.
But you're within. You're so well versed within the business that you're operating in that you're able to challenge the hiring managers.
Yes.
Because actually you know the industry as well as the hiring managers.
Yes.
Which I think is quite a
absolutely.
quite a key takeaway.
But I think really just maybe just go back and look at your career site, look at your job descriptions, look at what are the communications that you send out to candidates throughout the candidate experience journey, and just go, how is there something that we can change?
Does that make sense as well?
Does that make sense? Are we talking in jargon? And that's very, I mean, to me, I hate jargon. And I was like, Sam, please do not use jargon. My eyes will glaze over, because that's not inclusive at all. And there's a lot that you can do that's not going to be expensive, and just going to go, can we come across as more empathetic and more human? Is what we're putting out into the world the right lure for the kind of fish we want to catch? Keep that analogy in mind, and you'll see that perhaps it's. And I am not a copywriter, but we have amazing copywriters at Oatly. So I sometimes will draft something and go, hey, Morten, can you Oatlify this? And they'll write it in a way, and their brains will just kind of come at it from an angle, and I'm like, thank you. So if you have a good writer in the company that's not in the talent acquisition team, go and ask them. I think it's about, there's one phrase I hate, which is we've always done it this way. I think this is the worst, most offensive phrase ever. Just why would we need to do it this way? So think creatively. Who are the people in our company that are great? Maybe put them on the career site. Maybe, I don't know, just it doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be complicated. You're a human. Think about, what if I were on the receiving end of our own process? Would I like it? Maybe. Maybe it could be better. And it's everything: job description, social media, career site, talent, website. Look at everything and just, is it in line with who we are as a company?
Yeah, that internal piece of, am I truly understanding where the business needs to go intrinsically so that I can go and find the people? And then the external piece of, well, how am I talking to these people? Because if I don't talk to them in a human way, they're never going to know what I'm trying to tell them, right?
And if I remove the name of the company and the logo, would people know it's us? Or could we be anybody? That's a good test as well.
Yeah, because I think employer brand as well, sometimes we'll speak to clients, prospective clients maybe, about how they get their logo out there in front of talent. There's quite a lot more to it than that, isn't there?
There's a lot more to it than the logo.
Yeah. So I hope that was useful, everybody. As I said, I think the foundations of getting the technology in place and then actually understanding how humans dovetail with technology, without that in place, you wouldn't fundamentally be able to do what you do, right? Because there's 1,000 applications coming in for every job.
The technology is amazing. I mean, it's made it easier in some ways, harder in others. So it's never the technology for the sake of technology and, oh, we should be using this because everybody's using it. No. How do we use it to serve the humans? And because otherwise it's just too scary, because then we're going to be serving the AI overloads, and that way around, I'm not so sure it's going to be fun.
And on that note, thank you very much.